Secure your tinfoil hats, buckle down tight, and hold on loosely as we soar over the rocky tops of the La Platas on a rocky mountain high, get sucked into the vortex of the Four Corners, and settle down snugly at mile marker 420 in colorful Colorado. It is Saturday, April 18th, Sunday, April 19th for those of you across the pond and beyond. Welcome to We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. I'm so glad you guys could join us this evening. I'm your host, TessaTNT, and I hope you guys have been getting outside and enjoying the much-needed sunshine out there. It seems like here in Colorado that winter's come back because it missed us so much and just wanted to say hello. But I hope the sunshine has raised your spirits, and the fresh air and the warm sun remind us that even in challenging times, the spring will still come. So thank you again for joining us on one of our many outlets, including Spreaker.com. That's where we have our live chat and our live show under We Are Paradox Media, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iTunes, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Tumblr, YouTube, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, Deezer, as well as Podcast Addict. So tonight I have a treat for all my guys and gals out there. Tonight I'll be talking to and getting to know Mr. Ross Allison and Miss June Antoinette Nixon, the president and founder of A Ghost, Advanced Ghost Hunters of Seattle, Tacoma, with over 30 years of investigating the paranormal, with 17 years running A Ghost Hunting Group. He travels internationally to investigate paranormal activity, collect ghost stories, and research cemeteries. Ross has been lecturing since 2004 and has spoken to over thousands of students at well over 100 colleges and universities throughout the U.S. on his ghost hunting adventures, and teaches a class based on his book, Ghostology 101, Becoming a Ghost Hunter, at the University of Washington. Through his travels, he has had the opportunities to work with some of the biggest names in the field, such as Jason and Grant of Ghost Hunters. He has also investigated some of the scariest and most haunted sites known to man: the Stanley Hotel, Eastern State Prison, Amityville House, and even his investigation at the Exorcist case, where he has captured some of the scariest phenomena he has ever encountered. Ross also has a few more books out through Clerisy Press and Leprechaun Press: Spooked in Seattle, Tacoma's Haunted Journal, My Haunted Toys. He co-wrote the David Weatherly, which you can check back later for more books in a series coming out. And these books are available on Amazon.com or at Spooked in Seattle in Seattle, Washington. He's appeared on a number of radio programs, in magazines, books, news coverage, and television shows, including the Learning Channel's America's Ghost Hunters, The Tonight Show, MTV, CMT, CNN, A&E, the Discovery Channel, ABC's Scariest Places on Earth, Sci-Fi's Ghost Hunters, Nightline, and 2 episodes of Travel Channel's Most Terrifying Places in America. You may also find Ross wandering the streets of Seattle, for he owns and hosts the Spooked in Seattle ghost tours that take guests to the various haunted spots throughout Seattle area. And then we have Miss June Antoinette Nixon, who is the Vice President and Client Coordinator of the Advanced Ghost Hunters of Seattle, Tacoma, A Ghost. But you can ask the rest of the team, and they'll quickly tell you that June is the heart of the group, as well as the glue that keeps them bonded. She is a high-level administrative assistant by day and a paranormal investigator by night. Her calm and soothing demeanor helps her in her work life as well as with her teammates. When she is not investigating, June loves to travel the world. Her love of culture, history, and music drives her quest for knowledge about the people that live in the places she visits. In the past, being a professional opera singer, she now occasionally sings jazz around Seattle. One of her favorite things to do when investigating a historic area is learn what songs were popular at the time and try to sing them as a trigger for spirit to sing along or just comment. Or throw rocks, she says, laughing. So check out aghost.org. Also, search for A Ghost on Facebook. She also helps out at Spooked in Seattle on their public ghost hunts. And you can find that at spookedinseattle.com. Welcome, Allison and June. It's so great to have you guys back.
Thank you. This is awesome.
Is that the show? Are we done now?
Yeah, I think so.
After
I think
reading
I'm
all
done
that,
talking.
are you finished?
Yeah, now you guys can talk. You can unbuckle your seatbelts and roam about the cabin.
Well, thanks for asking us back. This is really fun.
Oh, this is great. I'm sorry I'm such a dog. You should shorten that down, huh?
Yeah. Maybe. Just a little.
Maybe a smidge. No, it's all good. I really
I thought
enjoy like
was
reading and
one
learning.
sentence.
Right? No such luck.
Oh.
Well, thank you
I
guys
know,
for coming
I'm very
on.
grateful to have.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
I know she does a very wonderful job, and she has such an awesome spirit.
Yes, she does. We've been trying to sacrifice it to Satan. Right?
Yeah, he keeps throwing it back. So
It's not working out.
There. Oh, this is awesome. But
well,
yeah, I tell you, being kind of trapped inside for all these weeks now, it's kind of getting to us.
I know we miss our world travels.
Yeah,
we talk about our world travels in the bios, and it's like we haven't been able to do anything for I think over a year now.
Yeah,
we'll just travel
even a road trip
outside of the U.S.
Yeah.
I know. So now me and June, since we both have VR, PlayStation VR, we now get in the VR system and we travel around the world.
Exactly.
Really? How do you do that? Now I gotta know.
Well, we actually we can go into YouTube usually and go into the VR version of YouTube, and then we kind of go over the 360 kind of videos and find like different travel. What are they called? Just travel logs or travel blogs?
Travel videos from all over the world. So there's a lot of people out there filming in VR. And so it's kind of fun. They do a really amazing job on a lot of these videos. And so now you can actually see the world, especially for people who can't travel or are afraid to fly and stuff like that. VR has opened so many doors for a lot of people. So we really enjoyed it. But we're also watching these videos going, okay, we're going there next.
Yes, exactly. So we find the same video and we say, okay, 1, 2, 3, push. And we push the play button at the same time so we can experience it at the same time. So yeah, that's our fun now.
That's what ghost hunters do today, just so you know.
Yes. And I've been watching a whole bunch of different groups on YouTube just to get my fix of, going out and doing an investigation. It's kind of sad.
Living vicariously through other.
It's not as sad as like us, our house is haunted and so is our yard. And so we went out and did a full moon ghost hunt and I felt kind of ghetto doing that. I'm like, welcome to my backyard. Welcome to the tree fort. Come in and meet our ghosts. It was. We actually had some stuff go on, but nothing really happened until 3 a.m. And then all of a sudden, the EMF detector was going off, and then you could hear music in the backyard. And I went around front to see if it was the wind chimes, and it wasn't. So it was kind of like music box music. So that was creepy.
Ooh, interesting. That's kind of cool.
Come out of the ground going, come play with us.
Come play with us. We won't hurt you much.
That would be kind of awesome.
So how did you guys...
Yeah, I don't know what I'd do if that happened.
Right? Yeah, our house is crazy haunted. But we're kind of used to it. The kids aren't afraid of the bathroom because of ghosts. They're afraid of the spider that's in there. And I'm still trying to get my husband to kill it because I'm afraid of spiders too.
Oh no.
Come on, just kill the cotton picking spider. But it's been interesting.
Maybe it's in quarantine as well.
Yes, the spider is in quarantine, and I told them it stays there in that one spot. It never comes down. Well, it came down the wall a little bit. I'm like, do you see where the web is? That's where it stays. But yeah. He can kill it, and then I'll clean up the web. Yeah. I, for the longest time, was killing spiders, but then I desensitized myself by going on YouTube and reading about all these different tarantulas and different spiders, and then I started capturing and releasing them outside. And my husband caught me watching these videos, and he's like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm desensitizing myself. Like, what better way to do it?
That's really smart, actually.
Try some VR.
Yeah, there's a video. What is that video with all of a sudden the spiders all come out of something and start running all over the place? Yeah, that was terrible. That was awful.
You got one where snakes come after you, birds come after you.
Man, yeah. I haven't seen those. Ooh, I don't know if I can handle that.
To see those. No, it was too much.
I could try, but yeah, no. I'll pass. So how did you guys first get together and become cohorts?
Well, actually, I've been running my group for, since 2000. So we are the oldest ghost hunting group in the Northwest. And we were moving into a new location, and I had her. Well, I should say, you should tell your part first.
Yeah, maybe we can tell my part first. Okay. My old group that I was in, Todd was the founder or leader of our group. And Todd and I used to have our own podcast radio show. And we're having all these kind of big names in the paranormal world, Christopher St. Booth, Johnny Hauser, we were thinking, oh, this is going, really, really well. And Todd started saying, there's this guy in Seattle that's really, really knows his stuff, and we need to have him on. And I'm like, no, we can't have any person in Seattle on our show. We got big names now. We don't need this, local people. And he's like, no, June, this guy is, he's known all over the world, blah, blah, blah. He's trying to, really sell me, this guy. I was like, oh, no. I said, we're starting to really, make some headway and getting so many listeners. And he's like, no, June, we're having this guy. I was like, fine. And so then we had Ross on our show, and I was like, wow, this guy really knows what he's talking about. This is pretty awesome. And then Todd invited Ross to an investigation, I think like the next day or the next weekend or something. And I was thinking, well, Ross isn't going to show up for this. And sure enough, Ross showed up. So that's the first time we met, was at this investigation at the Stanwood Hotel and Saloon in Stanwood, Washington.
Right.
And then, to investigate it. And then
June's asking for my help because Todd is one of those people, unfortunately, is no longer with us. But he's one of those people that just love to, have everybody hang out. He could not say no to people. So whenever he did an investigation, it became this huge public event.
Oh, my gosh.
And we're talking like 30, 40 people in one house.
Yeah.
How could you do ghost hunt with that? And June was frustrated with this. She really was.
Yeah, I was getting really upset and when he showed up, I kind of got him alone, kind of scared him a little bit because I was like, I got to talk to you. And he's like, oh my God, what's this crazy woman doing? So it's like, I got him, upstairs alone. And I said, hey, you've got to talk to Todd about, him inviting so many people. And I said, it's just really frustrating because I'm the one that's in charge of like only sending 4 people at once, and those people could only investigate for like 15 minutes, and it was just insane. So that's kind of how we got together. And then Ross invited Todd and I on a small investigation at a place in Pioneer Square. So we did that with just like 4 of us. And so Todd could see how great it was, to investigate with only 4 people, and and be less contamination, blah blah blah. And so that's kind of how it started. And then Ross
moving into our new location. This is where I kind of got a little ahead of ourselves here. But I was actually moving into a new location, and I called upon June to see if she would be willing to help out. And she is a great social person. So she got the word out and was able to bring in a lot of people to help us move into this spot. And ever since then, we've been best of friends.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then sadly, my friend Todd passed away. He died. And so Ross kind of inherited me, whether he liked it or not.
That's the key word, whether I like it or not.
Exactly. I just kind of showed up and never left,
Yes.
It's like, can I come over
You
for
realize
dinner?
she's doing her
Hello,
half
still.
in the backyard, you know?
Right?
No, I'm not.
Well, Ross, I was reading up on you a little bit, and I was like, man, you've been at this for a long time. Where did you first gain your interest in the paranormal? Did you have like an early haunting or early experiences that you could tell us about?
He came out of the womb with an EMF detector.
That's my story. Took it to it. No, I have a mother that loves ghost stories. So I grew up listening to these ghost stories, and I was always very fascinated with them. So it was that curiosity of hearing these stories and wanting to know if there was any truth behind them that really pushed me into the field of paranormal research. In fact, I lived in California for a short time and got to, meet a lot of the big people out there doing investigations in the paranormal, and I wanted to carry that on when I moved back to Washington. But Washington didn't have anything going on when it came to the paranormal. So I ended up starting my group, and it just kind of took off from there.
That's awesome. So at what age did you start?
Oh, gosh, I was in my... I can remember at 8 years old wanting to ghost hunt. Pretending to ghost hunt in our own backyard, to be honest. So, unfortunately, we didn't have ghosts like you. But, it was a huge fascination, even with, my sisters, my, younger sisters, we would play games like Out to See the Ghost Tonight and stuff like that, trying to, make up our own hauntings. Like June would also, pretend to be a fortune teller.
Yeah.
Wait, here we go. Crystal ball.
Yeah, I was terrible. I would have a crystal ball. My neighbor gave me this old 1970s crystal ball. It was kind of a resin crystal ball with not a real crystal ball, but it had a rose in the middle of it and it had a light at the bottom. It was like really cheesy 1970s, but I thought this was the perfect crystal ball, and I could like have these seances and things like that. And so I had my brother hide in the closet. I think I was only 8, and I had my brother hide in the closet, and I would have the neighborhood
28.
kids older. Yeah, 8. I'm only 8.
28.
And I'd have the neighborhood. I'd have the neighborhood kids come over, and I would like try to contact their dead grandmas or great grandmas and charge them 10 cents a piece to do this, and have my brother go, woo. I got in so much trouble. Let's just say when my mom found out. Yeah, it was bad.
For charging or for doing it, period?
Yeah, for the whole thing. And telling, the neighborhood kids that, I contacted their dead grandmas.
All the kids would go running home crying and screaming. Yeah.
Mama,
Exactly.
Mama. It reminds me of, we had some sort of Halloween festival or something in elementary school. All I remember is we made this box out of, it was probably a refrigerator box or something, and it's like, come in, get your palm read, and we had different papers rolled up and stuck in different slots, and we'd be like, okay, so choose your fortune, and we look at their hand, but we never could really tell anything, but we'd have them pick one out at the end, and they'd be like, I'm going to get a really high phone bill? We're like, yes. But we didn't charge. It was just for fun, but still, like, just the imagination you have as a kid can really propel you.
I know.
So, Ross, when you were younger, I'm a really big fan of Oak Island, and listening to their stories as a kid, like, they'd make up their own little treasure hunts and stuff. As far as your ghost hunts went, did you guys ever dig for anything, or did you ever find anything?
We didn't dig for ghosts. You usually do that in a cemetery.
Artifacts. Oh, yeah.
So bad.
But one of the things that I would say that I think I might have had an experience as a kid. My mom tells me a story, but I don't recall it. So it's very possible. I was very obsessed with this ever since I was a little kid. And I just never imagined that my, life would be a full-time ghost hunter. I never thought that would ever be an option for me, and now here I am. So it's pretty amazing to have this adventure.
Well, I can agree with that too. Like, especially in my family, the paranormal was normal. And, you know, we'd watch scary movies. Like, even today, my daughter came in and I was taking a shower and I'm listening to an exorcism and on the speaker, and she's like, "Doesn't that freak you out? Aren't you afraid?" And I'm like, "No, I fall asleep to this stuff," you know? And it's like comfort food for me.
So
you know?
soothing as the demon growls.
Yes. Wow, did you hear that? Get out. No, but yes, like original.
I think paranormal activities happening around June right now.
Yeah, honestly,
I see a ghost.
I was like,
for
"What
sure.
the hell?"
What happened?
My light just went out, and the bulb shouldn't have burned out. It's one of those 10-year bulbs.
Holy shit.
So I was just trying to get Alexa to turn my light back on. We do have something in my house, and it doesn't appear very often, but a male friend of mine one time was washing his hands, and the mirror sprung up and hit him in the face while he was washing his hands. And we've had the radio dial turn, and one time it felt like somebody was sitting on the bed, and things like that. So it hasn't been a lot of things, but and every once in a while Alexa turns my lights on and off just because. But that
AI
could just be her.
freaks me out.
Yeah, that's her judgment call. She's like, "Girl, you've had too much light right now."
Yeah, maybe that's it. I was like,
Girl, you got
I have
enough
other
glow.
lamp that makes yeah, maybe that's it. It's like, what's going on? But now I won't turn back on, so I'm like, what's going on?
What's really going on?
Well, I saw her looking around. I'm like, "Okay, what's going on, June?"
I do have Mr. Creepy out, and usually I keep him in the closet on the top shelf, but I got him out for last night.
Is that the ghost?
So, yesterday I had some weird stuff happen after I got him out.
Is he sitting in front of the Ouija board blanket?
What else happened?
Is that Mr. Creepy back there?
Yes, he's sitting on the blanket back there, the Ouija board blanket.
Ooh.
On my chair. And then I had
Mr.
weird computer stuff happen.
You've opened the gate to hell, June.
You have Mr. Creepy combined with the Ouija board blanket, and then the ghost to the right or left.
Yeah, I
can't tell.
I probably shouldn't have put Mr. Creepy on the Ouija board blanket.
Pretty soon, little letters will start popping out, like little spouts of air.
Yeah, I'll be like, guys,
something's happening.
Now you know about Mr. Creepy, don't you, Tessa? Don't you know about Mr. Creepy?
Could you introduce
Ross, why don't you tell about Mr. Creepy?
Yes, Mr. Creepy is actually, he's been featured in television shows, magazines. He's actually become a little bit of a celebrity there. He's a ventriloquist doll that was actually made in the 1960s by a retired ventriloquist artist. And he goes back to the vaudeville days here in the Northwest. And he actually was made in this guy's likeness. He actually made a female counterpart in his wife's likeness as well.
Oh my goodness!
So what makes these dolls extra creepy is they actually use their real hair on their dolls.
Yeah, you can tell like the way it flops around and stuff. That's not fake hair. That's real.
That's real hair.
And his eyes move.
Yes.
And sometimes they move without anybody touching it.
Now, one of the things that, as I get to the story, I'll have June demonstrate. But the couple passed away. And after their passing, the dolls were sold as a pair at an estate sale. And so a woman who actually deals with antiques, she actually purchased the dolls and she put them on a shelf behind a register. And they sat there for a good long time. No issues whatsoever. But unfortunately, they sold her building. So this means she had to pack up and move to another location. So she packed up the dolls separately and she put them into storage. Well, when it came to restocking her new store, she went to the storage unit pulling pieces and she found him, but she did not find the female counterpart. But she went ahead and put him on display in a glass case behind the register. That's when things started to get weird. because she said immediately she started feeling like there was somebody constantly standing behind her and breathing down the back of her neck. She always felt like she was being watched. She said some days she'd come in and she'd find that his head would be turned in another direction. She said some days she'd even find that his eyes would be looking in another direction. Now, what makes that claim interesting is his eyes are actually spring-loaded. And if June will move the eye trigger, you can actually... are you struggling there, June?
Yes, I lost it. Yeah.
Don't
All right,
Here, I'll get it closer.
So his eyes are spring-loaded, but if she flicks the thing, you can actually see. Just flick it. So they can... See? You can hear the spring. Mm-hmm. All right? So what that means is the only way to get his eyes to look left or right is you have to be holding on to the trigger. Once you let go of the trigger, his eyes automatically spring back to the center. So they cannot stay left or right. But there are days when she'll come in and she'd find him looking left or right. We've experienced it ourselves. He'll actually be looking in another direction. So what happened was I visit a lot of these antique stores looking for pieces for my my museum that I had. And so I went in and I asked her, I said, do you have anything that's odd? Because I just like to hear, their stories and what she thinks she might think is odd. And immediately she told me his story. And I thought, oh my gosh, I would love to give this guy a home at Spooked in Seattle. So I actually, I should point out, she was so happy to get rid of him that she sold me him for $1.
What the crack is up with that?
Yeah.
That's a good deal for
She
Mr.
was
Creepy.
Yeah, the one that named him too. She was so terrified of him that she actually moved him to the back of the store and put him on a bottom shelf, so she didn't have to see him every day. Yeah. So I actually got him at Spooked. I had him, in a glass case, and I was alone one day, and I actually was in the office when I heard a thud against glass.
Oh, snap.
And I immediately thought something happened in the gift shop. So I go exploring, trying to figure out what made the noise. And I can't find anything disturbed until I'm actually coming over towards the glass case with all the dolls. And that's when I noticed his head was turned and leaning up against the glass.
Oh my goodness.
So I
he
took
just
a picture.
kind of fell against it by himself, and that's what that thud noise was?
Yeah. Now,
yep.
I took a picture, and if you ever look, I believe the picture's online, but in the picture you can actually see in the reflection of the glass what looks like a totally different character. It is not him whatsoever.
Yeah.
And I know June's actually had an experience as well with him.
Yeah, there was one time that I think it was early in the morning. For some reason we were there early in the morning. And I was stretching, I was kind of across the room, and all of a sudden I looked at him, and he was usually facing like around another direction. And I realized he was staring right at me. And I can honestly say that I kind of yelped quite loudly.
That's what they call a scream, not a yelp, all right?
It was like, holy shit. Anyway, it was a little startling. And I realized that he was staring right at me. And I was just like, oh my God. He wasn't like that the night before when we left. I knew that because, I remember noticing him that, he was staring off in that direction, the other direction. And, it was very startling, let's just say. And we couldn't figure out how that happened. And, And there were a few times we saw his little eyeballs in another direction. And like we said,
he's like, yeah.
There's no way.
Are you moving his mouth too, or did he just do that himself?
Yeah. I'm moving his mouth.
Okay. That's creepy. He really does have a definite
I heard
energy.
him say, June, I want to eat your soul.
Mr. Creepy doesn't eat souls.
They're like cookies.
Yes, exactly.
So you bought him, but you didn't buy Mrs. Creepy?
Well, she was never able to find Mrs. Creepy. And so
yeah.
I do believe that what is going on here is he's actually just looking for the female counterpart. They hadn't been separated since the day they were created.
I wonder if they got in a fight.
Who's to say? We don't know, but I am trying to find her.
It would be nice. I wish we could find her.
Yeah, I hope she's like just in a box somewhere. I wonder if maybe what I'm picking up is like a past worker there took her.
You never know.
Possibly.
Hopefully she'll cause enough flack that they'll bring her back and you'll get the whole set for another $1.
Yeah, there you go. That'd be nice.
I'll just set him right there so he can look at me while he's...
Well, he does. He's like a ball of energy. You can definitely pick up on his energy, and he has a personality. And now he's away from the Ouija board blanket. I'm going to miss him now. Mr. Creepy, where'd you go?
Well, since June has had him, I guess things have kind of picked up, huh?
Well, I'm just kind of wondering now. It's just kind of strange. I haven't had hardly anything happen for I don't know how long, and then all of a sudden I have all these weird things happen. Like I said, I woke up yesterday. It sounded like a field of crickets in my eardrum. It was really weird. He was
whispering sweet nothings in your ear.
Maybe that was it.
Junior money, babe.
Yeah, that'll probably be my luck.
He's like, my old lady left me. Why don't we pick up where we left off?
He actually looks like he would say "my old lady," doesn't he?
Yeah.
early 19s or late 1960s.
My old lady left me. Why don't you cook me some dinner?
Get in that kitchen, woman.
Make me a sandwich.
I'd put him in the frying pan. If he said that.
He's small enough. You ever heard a lobster scream? What does Mr. Spooky sound like?
With her luck, it'd be like a remake of Trilogy of Terror.
Yeah, that'd be my luck. Yeah, well, yeah. At least he doesn't have the little razor teeth.
Or does he? We may never know. No, he doesn't. That we know of. So I know that with this whole coronavirus and everything, like, things are really tragic, but I know you guys went through your own tragedy where your place got flooded not too long ago. Like, what the crack happened with that? Was it like old plumbing or something? Or did insurance cover it? I mean, that's devastating.
Well, basically what had happened is on the third floor, somebody had changed a filter system, and the pipe busted overnight. And so throughout the whole night, the whole water ran through the building. And, of course, the gravity, it all went to the basement. And so it flooded the basement. And so we, unfortunately, had to move out. So,
yeah, it was pretty devastating.
Were you able to, save artifacts and stuff?
Well, luckily, most of the museum was not touched by the flood. What got damaged was a ghost office. So we lost a couple computers, some cameras, lost some books in our library. Mm-hmm. I lost we had a scrapbook of all the newspaper articles that we've been featured in since 2000. A lot of that history is gone. So
it really stunk.
Well, I know you guys have a lot of fans, and that's a lot of work, but they could go through and look those up and perhaps send them to you. Have you guys put that request out there to your fans to look up articles and send them to you so you can reestablish that book?
The articles are not so bad. Are you there?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, I'm sorry. My screen just all of a sudden just did something.
Now it's Mr. Creepy's fooling with you now.
No.
He's coming through the internet.
Yeah. He misses you.
There we go. Okay. So it's necessarily the articles. Most of them we can still find online. It's just the actual newspapers. That's kind of heartbreaking because a lot of that is a little harder to find. The actual newspapers. But then I did find that, trying to find some of these articles, some of the news websites will archive a lot of their old stuff. And since this goes back to 2000, we're not able to track those down either. So
what about microfiche? Does it still exist? Does microfiche
Well, I'm sure they're still out there. Yeah.
They gotta be. I just know they're there.
I hope so. That's what I was saying. It's just gotta be someplace.
Yeah.
So I think it's a situation where we just have to dig a little. But I just like to have the old newspapers. That would have
been nice.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I have not a similar story, but we had a foreclosure on our house, and I had this newspaper that my dad gave me that had an article in there about how my mom was kidnapped, and it was in the Fayetteville Jam is what they called it, which they have a jam every year of music. But yeah, so I'm hoping to get that back. But I know it'll be easy to find it. My dad had a lot of friends if they're still around, but it's hard to lose something like that. Like things that really mean a lot to you. They're not monetarily important, but they're like spiritually and a part of you. You know, so different, stepping stones and such.
Photos are precious, and that's hard to lose those.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm glad it wasn't worse than it was. I was just picturing you guys losing all kinds of artifacts and everything. And it is very sad that it was that book. I'm not saying that was not bad. But yeah, for sure. But yeah, you guys keep on trucking, and then we go to the whole COVID-19.
I know.
Mm-hmm. I know. Oh.
It's been difficult because, I make my living, doing lectures and also doing tours through Spooked in Seattle. So that's where I make my money. And unfortunately, due to this, I've been completely shut down. In fact, I was in New York. I was actually heading to New York to do a lecture at a college. And I was about 2 hours from the college the day before, and they actually called and told me that they closed the college that night. So my lecture was canceled after I'd already paid, and I was already in New York. So that was, a hard deal too. So
definitely, and that kind of goes back as far as the moving. We have Robin in the chat room, and he's like, "Hey, are you guys going to move?" But you already said you did move from that location.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we moved out. We had to put all of our stuff in storage. So
you haven't found
we're looking for a space. Yeah. Well, this all happened too during the lockdown. So there was no option into looking to where to move or any of that. So it was just the worst time because especially winters are slowest seasons. So just coming out of winter and going right into this was just it was tough, really tough.
And Mooney was wondering, is Mr. Spooky involved, or has he ever been involved in any drama-related things, as far as being a puppeteer and acting and such?
Drama. Mr. Creepy?
Yeah, Mr. Creepy. Yeah, I said Mr. Spooky. Probably Spooked in Seattle.
It's true. That'd be good too.
I think the scariest thing for Mr. Creepy is probably having to share a room with June now.
Would you stop it? He is not
the
that
drama.
Scary.
He's like, I can't take it. Ross, take me back. No. Come on, Mr. Creepy, be nice.
Yeah, I just couldn't, I just couldn't stand the think of him in storage. And Ross didn't really have any room for him because he has wall-to-wall Legos. If you see in the background there, that's all Legos.
In the window back there? That structure?
Don't look behind the curtain.
Do not look behind the curtain. Legos are good for you, unless you step on them.
Yes. Yes.
It's my creative outlook, I love to build. So it's like modeling, some people like to build model planes and cars and trains, and I like Lego because Lego, if you don't like it, you can tear it apart and start over again. So.
And he's done many really cool creations himself. Pretty cool.
But yeah, that's so right. Cool Mr. Lego
Creepy things. Mr. Creepy's just kind of staying with me for a while until they find another place. So.
Well, I wouldn't be worried because you had a heart and you felt for him, and you're like, "Hey, Mr. Creepy, don't go to storage. Come on over to my house." And and so he's like, "I'll be nice. I'll be nice." Otherwise,
we'll party
like
and drink.
Did you make him a bourbon and Coke? Something, come on.
Yeah, I should. I should just like put that in front of him. I bet he'd probably like that, actually.
And you look back, there's like 2 inches gone. You're like, where did that go? I know it didn't dehydrate already.
No, it's just June that drinks in her sleep. That's all.
Yeah. It's like, wow,
a
what did
fish.
that happen? I do like bourbon and Coke, though. Just saying.
It is pretty good. My daughter's made some admissions to me this last week, and she's like, Mom, I know you like tequila, but I like whiskey. And I'm like, okay, you'll like it for a bit, and then you'll realize why you don't like it. Genetics, no. But yeah, I don't know. Life is crazy right now. Like, I'm doing pretty good. I think, I got 3 kids at home, 1 talking to me on the phone or the internet occasionally. It's just different working and having kids at the same time, and trying to get them to do their homework and trying to do your work. And luckily the faculty are like kind of understanding, and they're like, well, we understand because we're trying to work too and we have kids, so don't feel pressure. If you need to, talk to the counselor. And I haven't yet, because I know like once I call her phone's going to burn up, and maybe her house too. But it's definitely been interesting. But like I said before, like, we're all going to recuperate from this. We've been through worse. If you look at the top 15 plagues in history, like, this ain't half bad. But any loss is a bad loss. And so love, light, and prayers to those out there that have lost loved ones, because this is no laughing matter. It is serious, and a lot of people aren't taking it seriously, and I just don't understand that. But yes, just keep going, keep swimming, don't stagnate, just keep that forward motion, and we'll all get back to where we were before. It's going to take a plunge on us economically and all kinds of different things, but we'll get back to where we were before, or maybe even better. You never know. So many different things have been discovered through different plagues. I'm trying to think of the name of the guy. I can't think of it right now, but he discovered, mathematics and astrology and all kinds of different things during a certain plague of staying at home. But yeah, good things can come from this. Don't
June's
think negatively.
realizing that her pillow buddy doesn't make it.
My what?
Pillow buddy.
My pillow buddy.
She's like, rest in peace.
Just doesn't cut it for her. She's like, I need a warm body.
Yeah, that would be
Be
nice.
a little cold. That's fine.
Hey, it takes all kinds of things to make the world go round.
It does, and it is a tough time. And I know, granted, we've gone through our struggles too, but I know everybody's going through their own.
Right.
And I pray that this ends soon, and I hope people make the right decisions. Because again, if we don't take the necessary steps now, it's only going to get worse again.
Yeah.
And so, just think people just need to be smart. And I know there's a lot of people that struggle with the reality of this and don't want to believe in the conspiracy theories. And it's just like, the truth is out there. It's black and white. You just got to take off your rose, colored glasses and look at what's really going on.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And it's hard to like wrap your mind around it or whatever, but you actually went to Italy together, and I was watching a video on Vice, which a lot of people are watching different news places, and Vice is pretty hardcore and to the point. And they're in Italy, and they're showing what's going on over there. And yes, they are on the downslope, but it's still pretty big. And they're not even counting all the numbers. Yeah. The only numbers they're counting is people that make it to the hospital, not people who died at home. And, they showed this guy who was 87 years old, and he's like, my wife passed away last year, and then I just celebrated my 87th birthday, and I couldn't celebrate it with my grandkids or my kids. It was a very lonely birthday. But that's what we need to do right now. We need to, even though we're family in separate places, stay separated. Just because we're family doesn't mean we can't infect each other, You got to work smarter.
That's right.
Hey, for some families, having the separation is probably a good thing, all right?
Yeah, for some families, yeah.
But like you said, there are those conspiracies out there where people are like, oh, well, this is just about the impeachment of Donald Trump, and because he didn't get impeached, now they're doing this, and this is all fake. And I'm like, no, look at Italy, look at Spain, look at Kuwait, like, look at all these places. Yeah, this has nothing to do with Trump. This is actually happening. But, I mean, people are kind of stuck in their little boxes, and hopefully somebody will open the top and they'll come out and they'll see everything that's going on. But, yeah, I hope everybody does stay in their own homes and be smart about it, because if you go out and you reopen things and you try to go back to work, it's just going to start it all over again. Let's get through this process, and then we'll restart when it's needed. Be patient. When's that going to happen? When's patience going to happen? You know, but
yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm really lucky that I can work from home. So they've set it up, you know, finally where I can work from home. So it's pretty nice. And it's also amazing how many things I get done without someone interrupting me every 5 minutes at work. So I actually, you know, coming by my desk and having to ask me where something is or how to do something. So I'm actually getting a lot of work done. So it's like, wow.
Yeah, you can do it all in the nude too.
Oh, yeah, I don't do that.
Oh, come on.
It's too scary. So.
For who?
You know,
Mr. Creepy?
I work in front of an open window. Yeah, I don't want to scare him. I don't want to traumatize him. No wonder all the lights keep going out.
Come on, June. Be nice to yourself. You're beautiful.
I'm not going to cover that up. I'm turning out the lights. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
You don't like it? Look the other way.
Yeah. And then he turns his head around.
And then pea soup.
That would be awesome.
Mr. Creepy, quit making a mess. Oh my goodness, man!
I do have to say that you brought up Italy. Yeah, we've had the opportunity to travel around the world, and Italy was an amazing trip for us. And so I guess we're pretty lucky that we got to do that before all this happened. It's funny too, because our other friends that we've traveled with, they were actually in Japan right when all this hit. So we weren't even sure if they were going to make it back, because we were supposed to go with them. But June chickened out of that trip.
I'm kind of glad I did, I guess. I just didn't, I mean, Japan looks like an amazing, amazing country, but I just had other places. You know, financially, it was just a little much at the time. So I just thought, you know, I'd like to wait a while on that. But yeah, I'm just really glad that we didn't get to go.
For me, like, Japan seems really fast-paced. I don't know if I could make it. I think they'd leave me behind, and I'd be like floating in the sea or something.
I think the biggest thing for me is all the people there. It's just, but not now. But I was going to say, you know, all the people there, that always gets me when I look at all the videos and pictures of, you know, I just don't like huge crowds, and you know, that would probably drive me crazy, I think.
Well, for me, it
is amazing.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Let's go ahead.
No, I was going to say it is the huge crowds, but it's so fast-paced. Go ahead, Ross. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It's all right. Yeah, it is a very fast-paced city. You know, there's a lot going on. I had the opportunity to investigate Japan before. And I do want to go back, because when I went there, I went by myself, and I really wanted to see the haunted forest, or what some people like to call the suicide forest as well, which is at the foot of Mount Fuji. And it's a situation where you just can't, you know, jump on a bus and go out there. It's something that you have to hire somebody to take you out there. And being alone in a foreign country, I did not want to take that risk of trying to get out there and not sure if somebody was going to pick me up or what the deal would happen to me. With my luck, it'd be the worst. So, so I decided not to go that time, but I was hoping that if I could get a group to go to Japan, then we could all head out to the suicide forest and leave June there. So,
can I go? Can I hide in your luggage? Or I'll sit on the wing like that little creepy monster in that
In Twilight Zone.
Yeah, in the Twilight Zone with Captain Kirk. And he could be like, ah! Oh my God, Tessa's on the wing. Man, have you guys seen that Matthew McConaughey movie about the suicide forest?
Yes.
McConaughey? Did I see it?
That was The Forest. Wasn't that The Forest?
Was he in it?
Matthew McConaughey.
Okay.
Hey. Yeah. He went out there.
I forgot that he was in it. Oh my gosh.
His wife left him, and so he went out there to kill himself, and then he found this other guy and was trying to help him survive, and in the end he discovered that wasn't even a real person. It was a spirit trying to save him. Oh, I got goosebumps just now. I'm going to have to shave tomorrow.
No, I don't think I did see that. That wasn't The Forest.
I was thinking the one called The Forest.
That wasn't The Forest. Now we're going to have to, watch it.
Now she ruined it for us.
Yeah, now we know.
Well, I didn't tell you everything, so there's a lot there to see. I'm just telling you the basis. Oh, man, that was
She probably, ruined The Sixth Sense for people, too, and said, I can't believe he was dead the whole time.
I see dumb people. I'm going to have to look it up now.
Yeah, I have to see it too. That sounds kind of good, actually. We've been trying to find some good ghost movies, but it's I think we've seen everything on Netflix, and and I only like a lot of bad movies, and Ross doesn't like the bad movies.
I don't want to waste my time.
I like wasting my time on bad movies. They're fun.
It helps to
you watch it, laugh.
I know, but I constantly contact June. I say, June, what should I watch? And she's always telling me all these horrible movies, and I'm just I get halfway through the movie, what? I can't believe she wasted her time watching this movie.
Oh.
You know what happens. I already know what's going to happen.
Yeah. But some of them are fun, and you can laugh at them. That's what I really like. I like some of the really bad movies. I love a lot of the old Italian movies.
There's puppies and blenders.
I do not like anything. Anytime there's an animal that I even think is going to get hurt, I cannot watch it. It's I don't care if 150 people get blown up and mutilated, but if one little puppy gets hurt, I will not watch it. It's I get mad. Yeah, how dare they kill an animal?
It's like me. I get along with plants, animals, and then people. First men, then women. Because most women are drama. And I'm a mutant. I don't get along. So the movie I was talking about is The Sea of Trees.
The Sea of Trees. Okay, we'll have to look that up and watch it together.
Better write it down. Better take a note.
Yeah,
your Palm Pilot.
You better write it down, because then we'll both be saying, now what did she say that was? We'll have to rewatch the show to see what the name of that is.
No.
The Sea of Trees.
Come on.
Yeah, he used to be so handsome, and now I don't know. I think because he lost all that weight for that one movie he was in, he's just so skinny and gaunt.
He had AIDS. Now he looks sickly. Hey,
he
what happened?
He does.
Meow.
Yeah. I mean, he looked really good. And remember the Sahara with Penelope Cruz? Really cute movie. I like it. But he was so hot in that movie, and now he just looks really, really gaunt.
What did you say, Ross?
If
he's watching, just so you know.
If he is, he can call me and we can set it right.
Okay, let me write it down on my Palm Pilot and show you. Man, I just saw in the message that June took a horrible picture of me.
I what?
In the message, you somehow accidentally took a picture. I'm like, oh, good Lord. I hope nobody sees that. But on that note, we are going to go to our first musical break, which we have Miss McKaylin Hay, and she is actually from Ontario, Canada, and she's in high school. She's a high school phenom. And then we have Miss Tracy Cruz from Oakland, California, and Mr. Fred Johnson from Canyon County, California. So we have Pins and Needles, Electricity, Sugar, and Joyful Rain. You guys don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this musical break.
Talking on pins and needles, every word through a microscope. You keep stomping down on the ground while I've been stuck on this tightrope. I just wanna say what I wanna say without your sentence. I'm not willing to do the time when I'm innocent and I'm in My safety has been broken. This is now a hunting ground. Talking on pins and needles. Talking on pins and needles.
Your love empowers me. It gives me the energy to move beyond my capabilities. There is no limit to what your love can do.
I feel chemistry whenever you're close to me, and I cannot explain your energy, 'cause you're pulling me like gravity. It feels so strong, I cannot escape your electricity. This rush keeps flowing through inspire fondness with love.
Where did our love go wrong?
My sugar.
Why did I make you cry? Whispers flow through my mind when I think about you.
That warm feeling in me.
My heart sings a sad song and just melts away. Please look into my eyes.
My sugar.
There's life in out there. Until the sun doesn't shine anymore, I'll be there. When time is a memory, I'll know this love. You will always be the one.
My sugar.
The feeling is so strong. Waiting here on this cold, lonely night without you. Where did our love go wrong? My sugar.
Your love flows through me like water from the rain.
It flows right through me.
You've cleansed my soul and washed away all the pain.
You wash every part.
Your love lifts higher than all of the stars in the sky.
So high.
I made my wish on you to be by my side. You loving me, I feel like flying. You loving me, I feel like crying. Tears of joy fall from the sky to make us smile.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we have Mr. Ross Allison and Miss June Nixon. You guys, welcome back. Thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Thank
It's been a
you.
pleasure.
This has been fun.
I've been having a good time, and it was really nice meeting Mr. Creepy. Mr. Creepy. I know I was calling him Mr.
He's still there.
Spooky.
Yeah, hopefully he's still there.
Right? She looks over. Where is he?
I'm just checking.
So you guys both work at Spooked in Seattle. Ross, you actually own it, and yeah, you keep the energy going over there, Miss June. Can you guys tell us about how it all started and the different haunted locations that you can experience on the tour of Spooked in Seattle?
Well, Spooked in Seattle, I created because, one of the things is as I travel all over the world, I like to take a lot of the local ghost tours. And I do a lot of this just so I have some places that I might be able to focus my attention on, for hopefully, future ghost hunts. So when I started doing a lot of these tours, I was finding out that a lot of them were making up stories and dramatizing stories, just to make it a scary ghost tour. And when I do my research to say, oh yeah, I'd love to investigate that place, and I find out that the stories on the tour weren't even real, it was very frustrating for me. And so I realized that, here in Seattle, I had investigated a lot of amazing historic places, and I had a lot of material, and evidence that I had collected from our investigations. And so I decided, I'm going to do a ghost tour, but I'm going to keep it real. And I'm going to share evidence that we had collected and take them to some of these places and hopefully get inside a lot of these places. And so that was my inspiration for starting Spooked in Seattle, and it just kind of took off from there. So we've actually continued our investigations. We get to investigate a lot of amazing places throughout the Seattle area. I do have to say one of the places that, let alone, doing tours soon as tours open up again, hopefully soon, knock on wood. But I do want to point out that we also host public ghost hunts. So we take people ghost hunting in various places. We did the Seattle Underground. We did University Heights, which is an old elementary school. We also have done an old ship, the Turner Joy, which is a retired Navy destroyer. And we'll still continue to do those once tours can open back up. But I do, when you're asking about some of the places that we have had these experiences in Seattle, I do like to share the University Heights story, because University Heights is, like I said, an old elementary school, and it's actually had some interesting encounters. A lot of it has been focused around the spirits of children. You'll hear them running around upstairs when there's nobody up there. You'll hear furniture moving around. Doors opening and closing by themselves, locking, lights turning on and off by themselves. In fact, one of the night custodians who had called us in to do the investigation had experienced a lot of this stuff. And one of his encounters was he had locked up the building, all the lights were turned off. He goes out to his car, goes and unlocks his car, and then all of a sudden all the lights in the building turn on at the same time. And this is not a situation where you just pull a switch and all the lights go on.
No.
You have to go around and hit all the lights to get them, to go on. But everything just turned on all at once.
Wow.
So that was pretty amazing. And so we've, for the past few years, we've been offering public ghost hunts there. Now, me and June, who usually helps me out with most of the public ghost hunts, we'll show up an hour before the public ghost hunts just so we can prep and make sure everything's ready. We'll also, make sure all the doors are unlocked. And it also gives me a chance that if I need to go get batteries, I can run over across the street and get batteries. And that's what I had to do. So I left June alone at the old school. I went across the street over to the Safeway to go grab some batteries. And as I'm coming back, I'm standing at the light, waiting for the cross signal, And I in front of me is University Heights, and I can look up, and see on the third floor, I can see June walking around, and I'm assuming, oh, she's doing her live feed from Facebook. She does this all the time when she's alone in places.
I do.
And it's great because if she has an experience, it's great that there's people witnessing it. So I was like, oh, she's doing a live feed. That's cool. So I get across the street, and it only takes me just a couple minutes to get back into the building. And so I finally get into the building, and there's June, on the first floor, doing, of course, a live feed. And I was like, wow, that's kind of quick because I know June when it comes to stairs.
Yeah, it takes me a while. I'm very cautious.
You never know. You got to be careful.
For her, So I was surprised to see that she was down there so quick because I was getting ready to go up and, join her upstairs, and she was already downstairs. And I had said, wow, that's quick. And she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I just saw you upstairs. And she's like, no, I haven't left the first floor.
Mm-hmm.
I was so mad because here's a situation where I literally saw the shoulders and the head of somebody walking around upstairs.
And nobody else was in the building at all.
Yeah, nobody else.
Check that, yeah.
She was completely alone in the building. When we do our ghost hunts, we have the building to ourselves. And I just assumed it was her. And I just kicked myself because here's a situation where I saw something, I only saw the silhouette. And I'm just like, damn, I missed it.
Well, I think even if you filmed it, sometimes you pick up stuff with your eye that you don't with the camera. And even if you had filmed it, maybe it wouldn't have picked up. So don't kick yourself too hard about it. There's energies that pick up on our energies. Like we have a doppelganger of myself. And then just recently, my oldest daughter is running around as a doppelganger. So it's insane, to tell what's real and what's not. Good time, June. Man, you made it downstairs pretty quick.
I know. I was like, yeah, no. And of course, I'm
banisters. That's all she did.
Yeah, I slid down the banisters. I'm live on Facebook, and people are like, I had quite a few people on Facebook, that I was doing the live feed with, and then Ross came back and he was like saying, how'd you get downstairs so fast? And I was like, I wasn't upstairs, and he was like, quit lying, and he was like that, and everybody's on live on Facebook saying, no, she really didn't go upstairs. They're freaking out.
He's like, I just saw you.
It was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So why don't you tell one, June? You have stories too in Seattle.
Let's see, which ones? There's so many different ones. We did that kind of impromptu investigation at the J&M Cafe downstairs, and I kind of just said, if there's anybody here, can you give us a sign? And all of a sudden, I kind of felt like something was playing with the back of my hair, and I felt it kind of rise up. And a couple of the other investigators that was with me, they went back and they were watching my hair twirl around, and it was just really kind of cool. But yeah, gosh, we just had so many different experiences.
That you bring that up because I actually had an experience there too. Now this is part of the Seattle Underground, so it's another section that we have access to the underground. And so there's been quite a few reports from seeing a shadow figure down there, hearing noises, EVPs have been captured down there as well. And so when I do my tours, I'll have to go over there just to make sure everything's okay before I bring people down into the underground section. So I always go out there, check it, and then lock back up. And I had gone down there to check it out, and as I walked into the underground section, all of a sudden I felt like something fell on top of my head. And I immediately thought a rat dropped on my head. I literally was swinging my arms like, what was that? What was that? And nothing. There was nothing there. And I quickly turned around to see if maybe I walked into something. And I saw just a quick glimpse of almost like something misty just fade real quick. And I was just like, holy crap. So June had her situation where something played with her hair. And so I felt something like land on the top of my head. So that was weird.
Jeez, like the weight, and did you feel like claws or anything else on that, or did you just feel the weight on
you? I didn't feel any claws, but I just felt like something either like stroked my hair real hard on the top of my head. But like I said, I thought like literally a rat had dropped on my head. Like when
And if a rat had dropped on your head, you would have been doing a lot more than what the heck was that?
I was like, there's nothing there. What's going on?
Oh, God.
It's all right. If the rat had given me rabies, I'll give it to you, June.
Oh, thank you. I know we share everything.
Sharing is caring.
Yeah. What other places? It's like, I mean, we just had so many different experiences in so many different places. I mean, we could always talk about the USS Turner Joy, too. All the different experiences we've had there that people can also ghost hunt, with. So it's pretty amazing. Yeah, there have been so many different things there. One time when I was on the ship all by myself, and we were getting ready for some Halloween event, and I was all there by myself. And I mean, nobody else is on the ship at all. And I'm sitting there and I'm getting some pamphlets or something together. And all of a sudden I hear the bathroom door kind of down the way. I didn't know it was the bathroom door at the time, but I heard a very heavy door slam shut. And then I hear footsteps. And I was like, what in the heck? I didn't see anybody else come on the ship. And they would have walked right by me if they had to get back there, because all the other doors were locked. So, I stand up, go back there just to see. I thought maybe it was one of the officers, coming on the ship. And I just, maybe they were, just back there, And nope.
This is how people get murdered.
Yeah, I know. Well, I was like so surprised. I thought, maybe, one of them came on board and they were back there and just staying back there, but there was nobody. And then I saw that the bathroom door, was shut, and I assumed it was that door. But yeah, it was very strange. But I heard very loud footsteps, coming down, and it's hard not to. I mean, anybody walking down there, you can hear their footsteps if they're wearing harder sole shoes. So that was really amazing. Yeah.
Now, there have been times when, again, when we use the Turner Joy, we usually have to be there an hour before the event just to make sure everything's set up. And the Turner Joy is another one of those where I kind of have to go there ahead of time. And I will be literally alone on the ship for at least an hour, sometimes more, depending on what time I get there. And I can recall at least a handful of times where I had just turned off the alarm. I'm now walking back to the cafeteria area in the ship, and I will actually hear somebody walking behind me. And then when I stop, it'll take a couple more steps, and then it'll stop, and then you continue walking, and it continues walking. So you can experience that quite a bit on the ship. Oh, yeah.
I've heard someone whistle when going by, and there's nobody there. Bangs, I mean, really strange bangs when you say, if there's somebody here, can you give me a sign? And then you hear somebody just bam, and it sounds like somebody just hit the side of the wall right by you. Makes you jump a little.
Yeah, it's like, even though you ask for it, when it happens, you jump. So your camera jumps or whatever you have.
It's surprising. Yeah, it's surprising.
Well, that's because,
we don't scream.
The time when we ask that question, we don't ever get a response. And so then when the few times you do response, it is startling. You're like, oh my God, it happened. But, of course, we don't scream and run away like a lot of people do on TV.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
I gotta get out of here.
Exactly. Yeah, we don't do that. Thank goodness we're both really level-headed and, takes a lot to phase us.
Well, yeah, and that
Unless
is
it's a
important.
mouse.
Unless it's a mouse. We won't talk about the mouse or the rats.
Yeah.
That I make Ross use the $20,000 thermal imaging camera to scan for mice and rats before we go into an old dilapidated place now.
She's like, just look. Could you just look?
They're there.
It's like, would you just look and see if there's anything that might, yeah. Those are my worst times where I'm like, oh my God,
something's happening. No, and I think a lot of that stuff that happens on TV is for like the thrill factor or whatever. They overdo it. because some of these certain people, I'm not going to say names. Generally, I'll drop something, but I won't. But yeah, they overdo it for the thrill factor of people that are watching it to get them all excited or whatever. And for those of us that know that what's really going on, you're just like, come on, like, do you really have to do that? And that is so dangerous.
Yeah.
If you do have a group like that and you're running around like chickens with your head cut off or whatnot, like, that can only cause problems. You know, you have to keep your cool
Right.
and take it for what it is and don't be all dramatic. But it is Hollywood
Right,
for a lot of
exactly.
these.
Yeah, you don't want to be with Ross and I when we watch these shows. If we watch them together, we could think, oh, it'll be fun. Let's watch, one of these shows or something, and we're both yelling at the screen. It's like, oh, come on.
Give me a break.
So yeah, yeah, it's bad.
I can't watch shows with June because then she starts throwing things at the TV.
Yeah, I get really mad. I'm just like, I can't believe they did that.
Right?
Yeah, it is bad.
Well, Nikki in the chat room was wondering, have you guys ever experienced spirits in the building that has the toy store on the corner of Yesler and First Avenue? The building is on the west side of the street.
We're talking about Magic Mouse toys.
Probably.
Yes, Magic Mouse toys. I haven't heard any ghost stories of the toy store itself, but the building has a haunting because that's actually where an Asian performance was taking place back in the 80s. And this group actually would hang upside down from ropes off the roof of the building. And it was a performance known as Sankaijuku. And basically, they would cover themselves in all white. They'd wear white clothes, and they'd cover their skin in rice paint, which make their skin white as well. And they were doing this performance hanging upside down by their ankles. And what happened is, unfortunately, one of the ropes snapped, and a gentleman fell 6 floors to his death right in front of the Magic Mouse toys. And to this day, many people say that around the anniversary, and this is around early September, it was September 10th, 1985 when it happened, but they say that if you visit around that time and you happen to look up at the top of the building, some people have actually seen a misty form just bending and twisting in that area. So there is an anniversary haunting that does take place there.
Robin was asking, there was a case you mentioned where a guy took pictures and answers would show up?
Yes. It's actually, a lot of people don't know this case, but again, it's an old case. You have to understand a lot of people that got involved in ghost hunting, it's all after 2004. So I go back to the old days. And so I'm very familiar with a lot of the really old cases that people don't talk about anymore. And one of the most famous cases, and this was back, I think, in the late 80s.
No, I think it was earlier than that. Because I remember seeing it on In Search Of, or one of those shows back when I was... Yeah.
I think it's the Paranormal Cotton Camera is where I saw it recently, where they took Polaroids and words would show up.
Right. Yeah, not orbs. No, this is a situation.
No, not
the Ghost
orbs,
Writer.
but words. It would have words on it.
Words, yes. Yeah, so this was 2 gentlemen lived in a house in California, and they started experiencing paranormal phenomena. So, of course, one of the guys had brought out a Polaroid camera and started taking pictures of, trying to capture the ghost. And it so happened that somebody had asked a question, and he goes to take a picture, and that's when words started to appear in the Polaroid film, these like misty, words. And they had it analyzed by professionals, and that is something that would be very hard to fake. Mm-hmm. They said the only way you could fake this is unless you preloaded already altered film. But then you would have to time the questions right, too, to make sure that the picture is going to put out the right question. So it would be a very difficult thing to do. And so they've had the pictures analyzed, and everybody validates that this was a real phenomenon, where these words would show up in this ectoplasmic form on these Polaroid pictures, and it always come up with an answer right after you ask that question. And it's a shame that Polaroid is not a common factor anymore. We've moved on to the digital era, so a lot of these old tools that we would rely on back in the day for ghost hunting, we don't have access to anymore. I know Polaroid film's really hard. It was starting to make a comeback. I don't know what the story is now, but I would like to see a lot of these old devices come back, because we might be missing out on a lot of phenomena. Because Polaroid was a totally different processing form. Now it's all digital, ones and zeros, where this was a chemical processing. And I think we very well could be missing out on a lot of phenomena that's happening around us just because we're not using any of those devices anymore.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I even saw a team saying, usually when you take a Polaroid, you'll flip around to help it process, but they're like, no, don't do that. Just set it on the shelf and let it do what it does. I don't know why.
Right.
But it's interesting because I've always known to do that. Yeah.
Doing that, you're drying the off.
Yeah.
But there was psychography was another phenomena that psychics would be able to hold on to film and produce images on film that would later be developed when the film was not even, put into a camera to take pictures. So that was another big phenomena that they found that was happening. And so who's to say that spirits couldn't produce images on film as well that wasn't exposed through a camera? So, I think there is some phenomena that we're missing out on that I would love to see some more old school ghost hunting happening again.
Yeah, it's interesting to use, like I have old SLR cameras where, it's on film, and then we have digital, and so it's interesting to use the different spectrums, and Polaroid to have one of those too, so why not use the 3 and see what different outputs you get, because with digital it could be cutting out a lot of stuff because it's trying to cut out the digitization and such, and so it's just like what different outcomes can you have with the same thing. So that's pretty interesting. Sleepy was wondering, where are the Polaroids that you guys took? Do you guys have pictures of those on a site or anywhere?
Those weren't us.
Yeah, that wasn't our case. That was just a famous case back in the day.
Yeah.
And you can look it up online.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually, I know there's a show called Ghost Rider, but the case, they called it the Ghost Rider. And if you look up Ghost Rider, probably Polaroids, you can actually find the pictures. They are online, so you can check those out.
And then going back to the toy store, Nate was saying, I was in the toy store in the mid-1990s and had 3 spirits follow me around. But prior to being in the store, she was on one of the upper floors of that building, and one of those spirits from the toy store, actually a spirit whose home base was on the middle to upper levels and was a male. He was very lonely, which she thought was really odd. But yeah, I guess they were following her around.
You never know. There's probably a lot of spirits down around that area.
You probably have to understand that, there's spirits probably all around us, and some of them don't have the capability to be physically active to let the living know that they're around. So you do have a lot of situations where somebody who might be psychic or sensitive can be more open to a haunting that's there, but it's not a physical haunting. So when I go into a lot of these businesses and I say, do you have a ghost? They're trying to recall physical encounters. And who's to say that there might, be other spirits there that just are just watching? They could just be a presence and not, cause any physical disturbances. So there are probably a lot of cases out there that we're just not aware of because they're not physically, disrupting the everyday lives.
Yeah, for the most part, they're quiet. We actually did an investigation where we went into a radio station, and he had little doodads on his boards, and they'd get moved around or knocked off or whatnot. And he thought it was his coworker, but she wasn't doing it. And then we went in, we found not only a male and a female, but a child as well. And it was pretty interesting. At the very end, the male was getting angry with the child and telling him not to talk to us and to go back to where he needed to be. But yeah, it's interesting who hangs around, who doesn't, and why they're there. And their stories is what really intrigues me. Like, what is their background and why are they still here? Is there any way to help? And yeah, it's kind of addictive.
It is.
Once you get bitten.
Yeah.
It's one of the things too that people need to understand, that it's not always, you're not always going to go out and have a physical encounter. In most cases, you might not have anything happen, and ghost hunting can be extremely boring for a lot of people.
Especially when they see some of the ghost shows where bricks and boards are flying at their heads all the time, and ghosts are like coming out and slapping them upside the face, and they're getting possessed. Things like that. It's like, and then we have people that will come with us on an investigation and sit there and go, God, this is kind of boring. Yeah, it is.
Like watching paint dry. Yeah, it really is. And you're hoping that something exciting will happen, and it doesn't always happen. But when it does, it makes it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
It can, sometimes some of these encounters can really put away that doubt if you go in questioning whether there's something out there or not. And I know for me, I'm not one of those ghost hunters that's going to try and convince you that, yes, ghosts exist, you need to believe, because really you have to experience it for yourself.
Yeah.
But for me, as long as I've done this in the places I've investigated all over the world, I've had some of those encounters to say, yeah, there is something to this. Now, to be honest with you, we don't know what it is. We don't have all the answers right now. But I definitely say, yeah, at least walk into this field with an open mind to say, yeah, there could be something going on.
Yeah.
Well, and it is when you open your mind to certain things that you do get something happening. I had a lady contact me and she's like, I've never seen a ghost before. I'd like to, what can I do to see one? And I'm like, well, open your mind. Know that these things are possible. Like, you could be walking down the street and somebody walk past you and they're not really there. It's just it could be a spirit or could be residual energy. Just open your mind to that. And she was going to pick up her kid at daycare, and she saw an old lady in the backyard, and she's like, hey, it's pretty cool. You got some extra help helping you out. And she's like, what are you talking about? And she's like, the old lady in the backyard. And she's like, there's nobody here. And then she showed her a picture, and she's like, is this who you saw? And she's like, yes. She's like, that's my grandmother, and she passed away about 2 months ago. So that was pretty awesome. Like, she was able to actually finally see her first encounter or spirit. So that was pretty cool. It's pretty cool when they are able to
and to know that her grandma was there. That's awesome.
Right. And it's funny that you say that, keep an open mind, and that's great. We always want to encourage people to keep an open mind, but it's surprising too, because even some of the hardcore skeptics will have these encounters and they don't know how to explain it. And that's just like, it's frustrating, because for me, I've been doing this for, 30 years now, and I have yet to see a full body apparition. Now, I've seen shadow figures, and I've seen, like a dark mass move around, but I've not seen an apparition where I can identify the sex or I can identify the clothes that they're wearing. I have not had that encounter throughout all the years that I've been doing this.
I haven't either.
And I get jealous when people tell me they've had that experience. It's like, why haven't I had that experience? Now, who's to say? It might have been one of those situations where I just thought I was looking at a living person and turned away and never gave it a second thought. So,
well, we both have had those kind of experiences. You had it at some place, didn't you, when you thought you saw somebody walking down, but you didn't get to see the whole...
Look, so here's my story, all right? So now I've never really seen a full-on apparition, looking at face-to-face. But I was doing an experiment at Shakers, which is in Wisconsin. And I had a small team with me. We were running some experiments in this haunted place. It used to be an old brothel. And I had brought a gentleman that actually was willing to be one of my guinea pigs. And so I had him staying up on the top floor by himself. And I had equipment on him and stuff like that to monitor what was going on. And before, this investigation had started, he expressed to me that he was kind of afraid to do this. And he was starting to beg me that, could you please just go ahead and sleep in the car? I don't know if I can do this, and I expressed to him, I said, I really need you to do this for me. I want to know how this is going to pan out. And so late that night, so he's on the third floor by himself. I'm sleeping on the floor. Now, I'm on the couch. There's this little, living room setting on this couch. And I'm having a hard time sleeping because every time I start to doze off, there's a weird noise in the room. So whatever is there doesn't want me to sleep, all right? So I'm having my own encounters throughout the night. And it's literally probably about 4 o'clock in the morning, 4:30, maybe 5 o'clock in the morning. And I can hear, his name was Mike, and so I can hear him get up and I can hear him come down the stairs. Now, the door to this room that I'm sleeping in has a big window, so I can see out into the hallway. Now, I know Mike's coming down to tell me he can't handle it anymore, if he can go sleep in the car. So I did not want to acknowledge him. So I'm ignoring him, as I'm looking at my camera, but I can see through the corner of my eye, my peripheral vision, I can see him, I hear him come down the stairs, I see him through my peripheral vision, walk past the door, and then go down the next staircase to the first floor to leave. Now, I'm thinking, well, you know what, I should find out what happened. Maybe something happened. Maybe he's, scared, had an experience, and wants out of there. So I decide to go check on him. So I get up, I go downstairs, and I get to the door, the outside door, and I realize it's locked from the inside, and it's one of those deadbolt ones. And so I really didn't think much of it, but I go ahead and unlock the door, and I go out to his car, and he's not there. So I go back in, I lock the door behind me. Now I go all the way back up to the third floor, and there he is in the bed. And I was like, did you just leave? And he's like, no. I was like, I swear I just saw somebody leave. And he's like, no, I heard somebody, and I thought that was you. And it's like, no, it wasn't me. So here's that situation where, again, I could have looked over and saw an apparition, but I didn't because I assumed it was Mike. So again, another missed you moment.
Mm-hmm. So you could have
this
seen
is
a full body apparition.
I was going to say, if this is going to be one of those talk shows where we talk about all my missed opportunities, screw you all.
That's right. Yeah, well, it's like the time that I saw somebody walk into the back area at Spooked in Seattle in the back area, and I saw the back of a woman honestly looked like she was wearing a black dress, but I just saw the back of her and walk into part of the area where the public wasn't allowed. And I was like kind of incensed because, you would have to open up this little gate.
Employees only. Don't go into the space,
Right.
And you would have to unlock this little gate and go back there, and I was just like, I look over at Ross and I was like, can you believe these people, just walked right back there? And I was like a little incensed.
Look of disgust, and I'm just like, what? I'm thinking I did something. She's like, point back there.
He's always afraid of that.
It's all back there. So I go around the other way, because sometimes
to head him off.
People, I hate to say it, but people can be disrespectful. You put signs, don't sit on this antique chair, people will sit on the chair.
They're like, you mean this
people
one?
Do that.
Yeah, you mean this one? Yeah.
So you experience that every so often where people just don't want to follow the rules. So I realized, okay, she's telling me somebody went back there. So I go around the long way because I think if anything, they're going to come towards me. And I go back there and there's nobody back there. And I go over to her and I'm just like, what was that all about? And she's like, there's somebody walked back there. I was like, June, there was nobody back there. And she was, confused. She's like, she swears she saw somebody walk back there.
I know I saw somebody walk back there. And so we looked everywhere, but there was nobody back there. And I was just like, I was so confused. I was like, I know I saw that. Am I going crazy? And he was like, yes.
He's like, aren't you always?
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
Ross.
exactly.
Dude, what drugs are you taking? Don't you share?
How rude.
Oh, fish. Yeah, I know. So basically, we kind of have seen full body apparitions, but no, not really. Face to face, where all of a sudden, But like Ross says, we might be passing someone downtown. They might be, you never know.
All right. Well, I think your experience was more detailed because you could identify the sex.
Well, yeah, I thought it was the back of somebody, and it looked like the
dress.
back of a black dress. Yeah.
See, for me, the closest that I've come to is I'll see the outline of a dark figure. I've seen that
too.
plenty of times. Or like something dart by so quick that you're not even sure what you just saw.
Yeah.
Or something
Like that time when we were in Bobby Mackey's and I saw that on the thermal imaging camera. It looked like something gray hunched over trying to avoid the camera when we were in there. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
So there's all these missed opportunities that we tend to have when it comes to ghost hunting. It's almost like they like to tease you. It's like, I know you're not going to film this, so yeah, I'll walk by now,
Yeah, like at Bobby Mackey's when I didn't have the recorder on. Yeah, yeah.
Prime
I was
time.
so mad. Yeah,
I hate it when that happens.
I know. I could tell you so many times. It's just like, oh, really? So now I'm like overly cautious, It's like,
Now she's got her tool belt of all 56 cameras that she has on her.
Every
the whole
angle.
I
thing
do have a lot of cameras.
back,
Yeah.
there's a camera on and everything.
Oh.
She's got all this gear around her, but yet she fails to turn it all on.
Would you stop it? That was one time.
Uh-huh.
You know,
She's got all this going on around her, and then she's got this little camera that she's holding in her hand, and it's mostly facing the ground so she can see where she's walking.
You know something? Sometimes if I forget my flashlight, I have to see where I'm going. I have to point yeah, it is kind of bad.
Example, we were investigating Chillingham Castle, and we're in the woods.
The haunted woods.
Yeah, we're in the haunted woods. It's pitch dark. We're walking around, trying to, capture some phenomena. And we did experience something that was interesting because the woods are actually supposed to be pretty haunted. A lot of people say that you'll hear or see women walking around in the woods in the middle of the night. They say this is where the women were killed. There's the hanging trees in that area as well. And so they say no one can survive being out there after midnight. Challenge accepted, okay?
Yeah, we were there.
They're at midnight, okay? So we go out there, and, just a small, I think there was like four or five of us out there, and we're walking around, and of course, all of a sudden we hear these young ladies, talking and giggling, and we're thinking, oh, great, some other people are coming out to join us.
Yeah,
and so
we're coming down the path to us, yeah.
Kind of getting a little annoyed because we had it alone. We had the space for ourselves for quite some time.
Yeah.
Now people are crashing our party, So I'm looking around trying to find out where they are, and I realize I'm not seeing any flashlights because it is completely dark. We had to have flashlights.
Pitch black night, no moon. I mean, it was pitch black, no city lights, nothing around. It was wild.
So,
see the stars.
We couldn't see anybody walking around. We couldn't, find out where the voices were coming from, and then it just stopped.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like it came out of nowhere, and then it was gone. So it's one of those amazing experiences that we had. But, of course, when we go back to look at all of our footage, here's June filming the ground the whole time.
Stop it. You were supposed to hold the flashlight on my feet when I was supposed to be walking.
So
I
she
had
could
to
see where
I
she
was
was going.
There were tree branches everywhere.
So for all we know, there could have been an apparition standing right next to her, but for she's looking at the ground.
But it was really weird, though, because I have that on film where you, at that time, right before we heard the laughter, you felt like somebody tugged on the back of your shirt.
Oh, yeah.
And so you felt like that, and I wasn't even close to you, or Eileen wasn't even close to you. You felt like something tugged on your shirt, and then all of a sudden, that's when we start hearing the laughter, and my camera shut off. I mean, it wasn't me. I didn't shut it off. My camera just automatically shut off. So that was really weird all in itself. It was like, aha, I'm going to shut the camera off.
Yeah, we have to go back to Chillingham Castle. That was an amazing place.
It really was. Let's spend a few days there next time. Yeah.
Yeah, because pretty much had the castle to ourselves. There was like maybe like 3 other couples there, and that was it.
I didn't think there's that many. It was just a couple other couples. Yeah.
Yeah. Then that's also where we had the door open on command when I asked it to open by itself, and it did.
Yeah.
Wow. So is it just like old residents that live there? Is there a particular spirit that's there? Or spirits?
I can't remember the stories there. There's so many different stories.
Well, they say it's got the bloodiest history.
Yeah.
Comes to all castles in Europe. Like they said that they hung a lot of bodies. There's a whole road where they hung bodies all along the road as a warning.
It was down the driveway. The driveway, I guess you'd say, but it's about maybe almost a half a mile long, the driveway to get to the castle. And there's these huge old, trees that are lining the sides there. And they said that they would hang people up and down those trees and also hang a lot of people in the woods. So it was just, I can't even think how horrific that would be to see something, so horrible like that. But even all through the woods there, yeah, in the smell. But, since people only bathe once a year anyway.
Yeah, Castle probably didn't smell in the first place,
Yeah.
Why not throw a few dead bodies in there, too? That's okay. But, yeah, it's, I don't recall all the stories there, but there's a lot. Like I said, they have the bloodiest
history. And a torture chamber. They had a huge torture chamber there, yeah.
So, they do claim to have the bloodiest history and being the most haunted castle throughout Europe.
Yeah.
So, and how it was like, about 3-4 years ago since we did that one?
Yeah, I think so.
So, so I apologize. I don't remember all the stories. But it's a great place because they do operate kind of like a B&B. So there are a lot of castles throughout Europe that you can actually spend the night in, and that's the year that we did our haunted castle tour.
Yeah.
And we traveled throughout Europe, staying at all haunted castles.
It was awesome. Oh my God.
Very jealous.
So we started. Chillingham Castle was our first castle, but we only spent 1 day there. We would like to stay longer.
Yeah.
And then we went up to Scotland. And we actually had Roslyn Castle to ourselves for 3-4 nights.
Nice. Well, I hate to cut you guys off, but we do have to go to our second musical break. So you guys stay anywhere. We'll be right back right after this.
Right through. You've cleansed my soul and washed away all the pain. You wash every part. Your love lives higher than all of the stars in the sky. So high. I may not wish on you to be by my side. You loving me, I feel like flying. You loving me, I feel like crying. Tears of joy fall from
standing right in the eye of a blizzard. You're inches from a shelter, so near to warmth of a home in a chandelier, shining down its light on love, wishing you'd be closer. The curtain's nice, but what it hides is worse than sticks and stones. Before you climb the fence tonight, look through the microscope. Better the devil you know. 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 Before you climb the fence tonight, look through the microscope. Better the devil you know. Better the devil you know. Better the devil you know. Better the devil you know.
Boy, I don't know what to do. My heart is so confused. In the past, it's been put down, it's been shattered, and then I'm left without any clue to know the real truth about what I found. But with you, I found my common ground. You're the one that makes me emotional. 'Cause you're the one that makes me feel emotional. You make me feel that love is real. 'Cause you're the one that makes me feel emotional. Ever since I was young, wash away all the pain.
You wash every part.
Your love lifts higher than all of the stars in the sky.
So high.
I made a wish on you to be by my side. You loving me, I feel like flying. You loving me, I feel like crying. Tears of joy fall from the sky to make us smile. Your love outshines all the rays of the morning light.
It's so bright.
leave her base because she had the range. I knew she was the one that never could go home again. Plastic life by limo seats. I don't know why I can't control this urge to hurt again. Yeah. Living at the door. I search lonely streets to find hidden shadows in the dark. It doesn't matter what I say. Change the things that murder forever after. No matter what I say after dark. Feeling ran to arguments and fear. In hiding place with days of December. Concerning words or meshed in romantic. It doesn't matter what I say. It really doesn't. No matter what I say after dark. It doesn't matter what I say. Secret homicides arranged in a series of pursuits. No matter what I say. Change the things that murder forever after. It doesn't matter what I say. Brooding fatal, lacking the hint of conscience. No matter what I say after dark.
Welcome back, and thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight on We Are Paradox Media's Late Night in the Rockies. Tonight we are joined by Spooked in Seattle's Ross Allison and Miss June Nixon. You guys, welcome back, and thanks so much for hanging out with us tonight.
Well, thank you.
No problem.
It's been
Man,
fun.
we talked about a lot of cool stuff on break too, but I want to start back off where we left off, which was going to the Scotland Castle.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So we did a haunted castle tour where we actually flew into London. We spent a couple days in London, which was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
We actually went to Highgate Cemetery, which I encourage if anybody's ever
Oh
planned
my gosh.
London. And this is not in the London area, so you do have to take a bus out to this.
Yeah. And walk 600 miles.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm not bitter.
We know how much you love walking.
It's a nice little stroll from the bus stop. But
Oh
if
my God.
you're able to get
All
out to Highgate,
uphill. It was all uphill. Not even
ways.
one downhill.
Razor Blade Alley, and then you have to swim across Acid Lake. You know,
It's terrible. I'm sure there was an easier way to get there, but we didn't really know how to get there. So it was quite a little jaunt.
you could do a cab. Once you get off the subway, there is a subway stop that'll drop you off in Highgate. And then, of course, you can hike it, which is a beautiful hike. You get to go through this really beautiful park. So that I
That's
have
true.
no problem with. But you could probably take a cab from Highgate into Highgate Cemetery, which is the oldest cemetery in that area. And it is amazing. It really is.
It really is.
Our first time we went there, our first time to London, I took June to Highgate Cemetery. And there's the east side and the west side. The west side is the oldest, but you can only see the west side when you book a tour. And you do have to book your tour in advance. Now, we
didn't know that.
Yeah. Hoping that when we got there, we'd actually be able to buy tickets for the tour. And unfortunately, the tour was already sold out. So we could not get in on the tour for the west side. But you can still explore the east side, which is beautiful still.
It's amazing. That's
Yeah.
all I have to say. It's incredible.
It's a massive cemetery in the middle of the woods, pretty much. and it is beautiful. You got a lot of these historic, statues and these historic tombstones, and they're all covered in ivy and moss, and it's beautiful. It really is. So,
It's incredible.
so being that this was our second time back to London, I really wanted June to experience the West Side. So we went back to the cemetery. We had booked the tour ahead of time, and so we got to wander around in the West Side part, which is again an amazing cemetery there. But you are on a guided tour, so you can't wander off. Which I'm sure there'd still be some amazing stuff to see.
Yeah, it was irritating because every time you try to like lag back and take pictures, she was like yelling at us and come on, keep up. And we were like, oh.
Because me and June both love to take photos. Yeah, we both love to take photos, and we try to take the best professional photos that we can. And a lot of times that's waiting until people get out of your shot. So. But there was times, we're in the crypt. It takes you through a crypt as well, and you can see all the open crypts and everything. So that was pretty awesome. But then after that, we took the train up to Chillingham, and that was another adventure because Chillingham Castle is not just in a little town of Chillingham. It's way outside. I don't even think it's called Chillingham, is it?
No.
I forget the name of the
can't remember either.
It's a
No,
village.
you're in trouble because you get there and the bus that you were supposed to take I think only leaves like twice a day, and it didn't go by the castle, did it?
It goes near the castle. It leaves you like a mile less than you'd have to walk a mile from the bus stop.
Right. So that way, but we decided to just call a cab where we were at the bus terminal, and you were kind of in trouble when the cab driver says, I think I know where that is, but showing up on the GPS. Let's give it a go. You're like, oh God.
And it's in the middle of nowhere, literally.
Yeah.
Driving through woods and open fields, this guy could easily kill you. You know?
Getting a little nervous. Like, how expensive is this going to get to?
But
I don't care. Just get us there.
Yeah, he found it. It was beautiful. So we did our one night in Chillingham Castle, and next to Chillingham Castle, I should point out too, is an old church. So,
that was so awesome!
Yeah.
It was like a church / crypt.
Right.
There was a really ornate, beautiful crypt in there too, with I think the original. I have no idea.
I forget who his name is, but he actually paid to have the church built.
Was it from the 13th century or 12th century? It was just amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, so you go to these places and you see these memorials to knights. You don't see that here in America.
No.
So it's amazing to have all that history around you. Because sometimes, when you watch these old movies, you kind of have a hard time grasping the fact that this was a lifestyle back in the day.
Yeah.
And then to visit these countries and realize you're part of that now. You're standing where a lot of that took place. So that's one thing I love to see, when I travel around the world. So after Chillingham Castle, which we had already talked about our experiences there, we took the train. We had met our friends from Scotland, came down. And then
Mark and Eileen, they were so awesome. They live in Scotland, and they took us around. It was just amazing of them. Oh my God, they're amazing.
So we drove up from there to Scotland, and we spent 4 nights at Roslin Castle.
Oh my gosh!
Yes, we had the whole
Roslin Castle.
That was an experience.
And basically, Roslin Castle is kind of a ruin. I mean, it's a lot of the walls and everything like this is in shambles. But in I think 1699 or 1639 or something like that, they had updated one section of it to make it livable. And so that's the last time they really updated the place. And but no, they updated it so people could live in that one area, and there were paintings in there from, the 1600s, 1700s. It was in tapestries. It was incredible. And old books. It was just like, oh my God. And dungeons
Yeah.
underneath the castle.
So when you stay at at Roslyn Castle, the most of the castle is ruins. So you're surrounded by the ruins of the castle, but they have this little chateau that is livable. So you actually stay in this little chateau, and there's probably about 4 rooms in the chateau. But the chateau is haunted. We had the pleasure of experiencing the flushing toilet.
Just flushed by itself.
The toilet constantly flushed by itself. But also underneath the chateau is part of the original castle, which are 3 layers of dungeon. So literally you take the stairs, there's a staircase that'll take you down into the dungeon area, and you can explore down there all night.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah. So we had this whole place to ourselves for 4 days, and it was cold, but it was still amazing. So it's the roaring fire every night. But
we had another group join us too, which was kind of cool on one of the nights, and did kind of a ghost hunt with them through the downstairs, and people had some interesting things happen. So
yeah. Well, when we were in the dungeons, we thought, as you were talking about June's profile bio, she loves to sing, so we actually had June sing some of the old Scottish songs. And it was just kind of cool just to be down in those dungeon areas.
Yeah,
so
it really was.
That. So we had that for 4 days. I'm trying to think of any interesting experiences that really sticks out.
Well, we when we went upstairs to one of the bedroom, wasn't there something about they thought there was a child?
Well, there's supposed to be children, that haunt the upper
we
floor.
had some interesting things happen with responses on the EMF detector and things like that, or something. Seemed like we were getting direct responses. There was a few other things. I thought I walked into a bunch of spider webs downstairs, and I was like, flapping my arms everywhere trying to get the spider webs off, and there was no spider webs.
Head cut off,
Yeah, I was like, It was just like so. So yeah, we had a whole sorts of interesting kind of things like that. So, but it was an amazing experience. That's all I have to say. I want to go back again really bad.
Yeah,
I actually would like to spend Christmas there.
That's awesome. So they have right next to the castle, of course, there's also an old cemetery. So we had access to the cemetery all night. And then next to that is the Roslyn Chapel. And Roslyn Chapel is also famous because it was featured in Da Vinci Code. At the very end of Da Vinci Code, that chapel, that is the Roslyn Castle. So we were able to go in. And I remember the first time I visited Scotland, Mark and Eileen took me there, and we had the chapel to ourselves and got to go down into the crypt area and do a little, investigation. But this time when we were there, it's gotten to be more popular. So there was a lot of tourists there. And so we didn't get to actually go down into a lot of the places that I got to the first few times I was there. So that was Roslyn Castle. So then we took the ferry over to Northern Ireland, and we stayed 2 nights at Ballygolly Castle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Northern Ireland, yes. Yeah. Ballygolly Castle. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. And I'll let you tell that story.
Well, it was really funny because I was trying to book the haunted room, and he's like, well, nobody stays in the haunted room. I was like, well, is there any way we can stay in the haunted room? And he was like, no, you don't understand. We have the haunted room reserved for people that, want to go up there and see it, but you can't stay in the haunted room. And we found out it was in the tower. So, but I stayed on one of the sides that had was in that area anyway. So that was pretty cool.
The oldest part of the castle.
Yeah, I was in the oldest part, and then Ross got a room at one of the other parts of the castle. But But yeah, they have this room
I'm not
reserved when we got there.
I'm not bitter.
I know. I know. I confiscated that one. But they had this room in the bell tower, and the story was that a man, this couple, she had given birth to a little girl, and his resentment grew and grew, and he was getting really tired because he wanted a boy, of course, the old tried and true story. And he just got tired of looking at her, and he was just furious all the time because she wouldn't give him a male heir. So
How dare
he
she?
locked. Yes, exactly. We know
When
all
really
that
it's
story
his
now.
fault.
Well,
It's
I
his
know,
fault
that's the
anyway.
funny
Yeah.
thing, it's like it's the guy's fault,
Yeah. Well, so he just got to take it out on his wife. He locked the daughter up in the tower and didn't want her to go out. Well, the wife was so distraught that she decided, to try to, rescue her daughter, but she couldn't go up the stairway because that door was locked and everything else, and she didn't have the key. So she decided she was going to crawl up on the outside and try to go through one of the windows to see her daughter or rescue her. I'm not sure what the whole story was, but anyway, the story was that she fell to her death. And what was it that you could see her? She was like a lady in gray or something like that would walk through
she'd be a cloak apparition. A lot of people.
That's
think
right,
that
and a
it's
cloak. Yeah, that's right.
and a cloak.
She had her
And-
traveling cloak because she was gonna. That's it. She was trying to rescue her daughter, and they were going to run away together and everything. But she died when they were trying to do that. And so yes, so they have this. The tower is where supposedly she haunts now, searching for her daughter, still. And they have, just like a little bed and furnishings up there, and they even have a cloak you can try on.
Oh,
A
wow.
little cheesy, but it was fun.
But see why they don't rent it out as a room, because it's not really a guest room. It's just
No.
an open little room. It's a tiny little room, just big enough for like a single bed and maybe a dresser or two, and then a tiny little closet. So we understood once we got there and saw the room. Oh, well, I can see why they don't rent this room out.
But it would have been awesome to stay there.
Right, but they were kind enough to at least let us set up equipment overnight. So we were able to set up some cameras, some audio equipment, and leave it in the room overnight. And they also, we had the opportunity to investigate all night too. They would when we were done, they just said, let us know and we'll lock up, the room,
Right.
Your equipment's safe.
But the equipment we left in there, the recorder and the camera that we left in there, were both shut off about the same time.
Wow.
Yeah, and it was
How do we
shortly
explain
right
that?
after we left.
Yeah.
They easily could have been running for a good 3 or 4 hours after we
Yeah.
left.
I was like,
both
something
turned
did
off.
not want us.
Yeah, so
to
both of
record
them had
that.
turned off like within 10 or 15 minutes
Yeah.
after we left the room. And we couldn't explain why.
Yeah, it was really weird. Because I had an extended battery pack, everything, all set to keep going, and nope. So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, it was beautiful, though. It was right by the sea and the water.
Yeah, so we did a trip and we went and saw the
Giant's Causeway. Yeah.
It was amazing
Oh,
too.
wow. That was incredible.
So from there, then we took the bus down to Dublin,
No, Belfast first.
Belfast.
Yeah.
No, we stayed. Belfast was closest to Ballygolly, so we just did a day trip to Belfast.
No, we stayed the night. We stayed at the Holiday Inn in Belfast.
Oh, did we?
Because that was like the only unhaunted place that we stayed. Remember? We stayed all night in Belfast. And we did the tour. We got to write our names on the peace wall, which was really cool. That was in Belfast. That was kind of, that was with permission. We didn't
I
just
think I was
write.
just so focused on the haunted castle.
I just wanted to say that, we didn't just write our name on the peace wall. The tour that took us there said, please write your name on the peace wall to,
And you can do pins, all right?
Yes. So we just wanted to make that
We
known.
purposely graffiti places all around the world,
No, we don't do that.
Just June pees on all the walls everywhere she goes.
I marked the territory.
Right?
But then after we stayed in Belfast, which, is probably a really haunted city with all the wars and fighting and everything else that's been going on there. So, yeah, it was pretty amazing. But then after that, we went to
Then
Dublin.
we took the bus to Dublin, and we stayed in
Clondalf
another
Castle.
Clondalf Castle. We
Clon-
had,
yeah, Clondalf Castle.
Is that the
And
one on the
that's,
island, or?
No, it was right by Dublin, about maybe 10 minutes from downtown Dublin.
Yeah. You do have to take a cab there and back, but yeah, it was a beautiful little castle. It's been remodeled, so
Beautiful. Very fancy. Very
Yeah.
nice.
high-end.
Lots of ghost stories there, yeah.
So we got that. We stayed there for what? One night? Just the one night?
Yeah,
two-
I think so. Was it 2 nights? I think it was 2 nights. Yeah, we stayed there for 2 nights. Because we had some fun in Dublin, and then we got to go to the Glasnevin Cemetery
Oh,
that
yeah.
has over like 1 million people buried there. Now, Tessa, I have to tell you, the cab driver told me that all of the people living around Dublin cannot be buried in that cemetery anymore. Do you know why?
There's too many people.
No, because they're not dead, silly.
Oh, that takes all the fun out of
Yes,
it, though.
Yes, the cab driver told me that he laughed and laughed because, he knew that, he probably told that story every time he went by the cemetery.
Right?
It's like, all the people living around Dublin cannot be buried there anymore.
But they're dying to get in.
Yeah, but they're dying to get in. Yeah. Yeah, so that was pretty funny. But that was an amazing cemetery, too. I've never seen so many Celtic crosses, and it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful, and statues, but still didn't top Highgate, but it was pretty close.
But for a haunted castle tour, that was pretty awesome. And again, it was just like the 5 of us, we doing this mini adventure. Or I shouldn't say mini. It was like what, 2 or 3 weeks.
2 weeks. Well, 2 weeks for me. Yeah, you had gone someplace else before that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, isn't that when we did Iceland too? We had that little layover in Iceland.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I went to the first time was Iceland, and then I did Iceland by myself because you went to someplace else before.
I went to I don't remember. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Okay, so anyway, that was one of our trips. Then we also did just not last year, but the year before, we did our Italy trip.
Yeah, that was amazing. Oh my God. Got to see Pompeii.
Yes. So,
I've wanted to see Pompeii since I was 12 years old. So this was like, oh, incredible.
in our haunted Italy trip, we stayed at a lot of haunted B&Bs. We flew into Rome, and so we had a couple days in Rome. Stayed at a B&B there, and then we took a train out to just outside of Rome to spend one night. And I'm trying to remember the castle. What was the name of the castle, June?
I can't remember right now.
June, you fail me. You're fired.
I know. They'll rehire me in a minute.
So I need another question answered. Okay, you're rehired. But I'll let June tell this story because she tells it so much better. But
yeah, so
because she really throws in her misery here. Okay.
So this is the sweaty bitey story.
It's another, yes. We get to this train station, and we get to our stop, and to get to this castle, we decided we were going to take a bus there, and find out that
No, it was going to be a cab first.
Oh yes, we were going to try to get a cab, but we couldn't get a cab. There were no cabs that were coming there, and anytime I put a request for a cab in, they would be denied, or we don't have any cabs available at this time, and all this stuff. It was just like, oh my God. So we decided, okay, let's see if we can take a bus there. So we got a bus there, and it only took us like maybe within, what was it, 2 miles?
Probably.
of it. So we thought, okay, we'll get there and then we'll see if we can get a cab from there and get it because it'll be cheaper anyway. Kept trying, no cabs at all. So we're like, damn. So we were like, okay, let's just walk it. Let's just walk, see how far we can get and then we'll walk it. And it's hot. And there are freaking mosquitoes everywhere. I don't know what they do in Italy to feed these mosquitoes, but I know we gave them lots of our blood.
Tourists.
I didn't have a problem with mosquitoes.
I was like eaten alive. I can't even tell you how many mosquitoes got me. And, I even had a little bit of mosquito repellent, and it seemed like I think they were immune to it. And we were walking and walking and walking. And then we had this weird guy in this old beat up car that was like, hey, I am taxi. I will take you. Where would you like to go? And we were like, no, thanks, Mr. Serial Killer.
I know, this is
Americans and can tell us. Well, we're dragging our luggage behind us and everything like this. And, we kind of look like, we're all, bags and luggage and, we're walking this whole time. So finally we kind of see it. It's like, oh my God, I'm dying. It's hot. I'm thirsty. I'm sweating to death.
Cussing underneath her breath.
I was not even underneath my breath.
My death. All right. She has worked out with a 2-mile walk. She has worked out how she is going to kill me and get rid of the body. All right.
I'm just going to bury you in the
It's all
field.
planned out this whole time.
So we finally get into the castle, and I was just like, oh my God. I said, we walked all that way from the bus stop and everything. And the man kind of looked puzzled. He goes, well, why didn't you just call us? We would have picked you up. What? I don't know why I never even thought of that. So, it kind of sucked, but we made it there. We lived.
One of those situations where she had already killed me, got rid of the body, and then she realized, wow, I could have just gotten a ride here.
Yeah, it really sucked. But it was a very cool castle that had a lot of haunted, a lot of haunted activity.
Yeah,
But I was so exhausted after that stupid walk, I didn't get to explore the bottom part because I fell asleep.
I tried to make up June because the team was gonna go do a little investigation because we had the castle pretty much to ourselves. There wasn't hardly anybody staying out there as well. So
we had a few other people meet us too there, some of our friends. So yeah, we had a few more people in our Italy trip. Yeah.
So we had this castle to ourselves. We're exploring, going down into the basement area. It was just amazing. Just again, another one of these beautiful castles. Didn't really experience anything there. But I remember as we were getting ready to do our investigation, I'm knocking on June's door, like, you want to go? You want to go? She's like, no, you just die.
Right now.
Yeah, it was bad.
Like, why won't you just die already?
I think I had a little heat stroke too, so it's like, yeah, I'm dead.
Well, didn't something happen in your room because you were trying to record or something? I'm trying to remember.
I can't remember. I did record myself all night, but I think I just got myself snoring.
Okay.
Or talking.
Well, she says she doesn't even remember me coming to the door trying to wake her up because she was kind of mad that she missed out on the investigation.
Yeah, I was. I was like, why didn't you wake me up?
I was like, I did. So we stayed there. That was an amazing castle. So then we ended up taking the train down to Naples.
Oh, Naples. Yeah, that's when we went to Pompeii. Yeah.
So that was an amazing experience too. So I let June tell that one too. Because again, you can express her misery. All right.
Oh my gosh, Naples! I mean, it's like they have these apartment buildings and condos or whatever. They have these apartments that are like 10 stories up.
Well, you don't have to start there. Start in the ride.
Oh my gosh, the cab driver. So we're in this little tiny car, and all of a sudden he starts going in these alleyways. And I mean, there's people on either side of the car that's like maybe 1 inch away from getting their feet run over by this car that's in this tiny alleyway. And he's going through all this, and
I've done this. I've never
Uh-huh.
done this before. This is
Yeah.
the first time I've driven through this.
yeah, he goes, I never knew I could drive through this. And I was like, I don't think you can drive through this. I don't think you're supposed to. I mean, there were people on mopeds, but not
There's just enough
cars.
the car and maybe people to walk just to the side if they're scrunched up against the wall.
Yeah,
And
they have
he's
to flatten
zooming-
themselves up against the wall.
But just to get to our B&B, he's zooming through traffic, you know?
Oh my
Cut
God, we were
people
just
off.
like,
It's like the traffic is just a nightmare.
we were just like holding our breath, holding on.
Sitting up in the front seat next to him, and she's like this, holding onto her seatbelt, you know?
I was so terrified. But yeah, then we finally get down there, and we were trying to wait for our friend who spoke fluent Italian. And so we were going to wait for her, but then the people were already outside, and they guessed that we were there to stay with them.
And again, we're a communication problem, you know, so we don't know what they're saying. They don't understand what we're saying, and they're just like, come
And
be
we're
with
like,
you know,
do you think it's them?
So, yeah, we're like,
Just going with somebody that...
go to the right place. What's going on here, you know?
Oh my God. So then we get into this building, and we had the penthouse. Oh
Very
my
nice.
freaking God. We're talking, was it 9 flights up?
7 or 8 flights
No, it
up.
was 9.
Had to be
There's no way
15.
it was less than 9.
No matter what it is, June's always going to add a couple more floors. So you
It
know.
was at least 10 flights. And then we get to the very
It was
last
12, it was
flight.
13, you know?
Yeah. We get to the very last flight that goes into the penthouse up there. And those steps are like, I mean, yeah,
It was
really.
like hiking up a mountain.
Yeah, it was pretty bad just to get in there. I was like, okay, that's it. I'm staying here.
The adventure to the castle, June thought was the worst thing ever. But
Yeah.
trying to get to our B&B and having to
Oh,
walk up all those stairs. Yes.
Oh, so then the next
So-
morning we got up really early to go to Pompeii. And as luck would have it, that was pretty weird though, that this car all of a sudden pulls up, or this cab all of a sudden pulls up and exactly has enough room for all of us to go to the train station. That was amazing because we were like, how are we going to get a cab? Nobody's out. There's nothing out there. And then all of a sudden this guy just pulls up and was like, hey.
It was like at 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it was
decided
5 o'clock in the
really,
morning.
really wanted to get to Pompeii before
Oh,
it got
nice.
too touristy.
Yeah. So we get to the train station and we missed our train because we didn't realize that it was just 2 trains were on one track, and we didn't realize the front train was the one we were supposed to catch. So we thought they were just going to let us in on this other train, and we're waiting in front of this other train, and then we see the other one pull off, and then we realize
Oh,
we missed our
no.
train. So we had to sneak on another train that was going there, and but Pompeii was incredible too, but it was very, very hot and mosquitoes. But it was amazing.
Size of
So we did
baseballs.
Pompeii. Well, we should talk about our little friend.
Yes, and as soon as we get off the train, all of a sudden this dog comes up to us and greets us and gives us, kisses and everything like this. And so it was really sweet. So we decided we're going to walk from the train station to the gates of Pompeii, which is about a mile. I think it was about a mile. So we got a lot of walking in. And all of a sudden, the vendors were like, our friend Anna, who speaks Italian, they were like, oh, the dog picked you. And we found out that this was kind of a little famous dog that greets certain travelers and will walk them to the gates of Pompeii. And it has a little children's book written about him. So that was really cool. And about 45 minutes later, when we were in Pompeii walking around, the dog found us again to jump all over us and give us little kisses and ran off again. So it was pretty cool.
And I tried feeding the dog. He didn't even want food. You think sometimes these strays just want, food from you. And I had, I think some, beef jerky or something in my pocket, and I tried to give it to the dog, wouldn't take it.
Yeah, it was just
He just
eating
walked by
us.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
That is awesome.
So the story is there is a legend that that dog is the spirit of one of the dogs that was killed in Pompeii, because there's also the remains of a dog that have been discovered in the lava, and so some people have said that that's part of the haunting or the legends of Pompeii. So it was kind of cool to say that we actually dog that they talk about. So that was cool, and
He's
then
a
walking around
celebrity.
in Pompeii. And,
Yes, we met the celebrity.
So we walked around, Pompeii. We got to see the cemetery and all that stuff. And by that time, June, again, has already planned my death.
It was we how long have we been walking in that heat? About 6 hours, 4 to 6 hours.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
But
It was awesome, but oh my gosh.
yeah,
It was a lot.
200 pounds. It was amazing.
Yeah, it was, I wish. I would be awesome. Oh my gosh.
But no, that was pretty amazing. So we did Pompeii. And then that's when we had the fly out to Sicily, right?
Sicily. And we got to see the beautiful mummy, and we'll have to shorten it because it doesn't look like we have that much time left. So
Yeah, we have about
let's talk a little faster.
3 to 5 minutes. Yeah.
All right. So yeah. So
Get your micro machine
Pompeii,
going on.
Yeah, exactly.
So then we jumped on a plane, went to Sicily, and we got to travel all around through Sicily. We stayed at the Valley of the Kings, where we had
Valley of the Tombs, or Valley of the Tombs.
I thought it was Kings or Temples. Valley of the Temples.
That's it. Yeah,
Valley of the Temples. You have all these temples surrounding us.
that was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we got to see some of the crypts, the catacombs.
Wow, that was incredible.
And the Beautiful Mummy is another great adventure for us, because the Beautiful Mummy is the whole reason why I wanted to go down there. It's one of the things that has always been on my bucket list. And if you're not familiar with it, that is the mummified remains of a little girl.
Mm-hmm.
And she's so well preserved. She died, in the early 1900s?
Mm-hmm.
And
She just looks like she's sleeping.
Go up there and they get fed really good and taken really good care of, and then they go up there and they're high on like cocaine or something, some sort of drug that they give them. But yeah, they're totally willing to do it and perfectly happy, and they just go to sleep.
This is actually she actually had died.
Yeah, this is a little girl that passed away. She was only 3 years old.
Oh wow!
And the father couldn't bear the thought of her decaying or decomposing. So he paid this man to try to, put together something to where that wouldn't happen to her. So she's in a little glass coffin that you can go and see her, and she just looks like she's sleeping. And it's beautiful. But if you Google the Beautiful Mummy in Sicily, it'll come up. It's really a cool, really cool thing. But that was amazing. That was one of my highlights, I have to say.
And you're in these, these catacombs, or crypts, I should say, and it just filled with thousands, or I should say,
mummies are hanging on the wall
with pictures of what they look like in their life, and here they are just decaying, hanging on a wall, and there's like hundreds of them all over the place.
It was very surreal.
Yeah. So we did that, and then we ended up back up in Rome, and I think we're running out of time. So
yeah,
we have a little
talk
bit of
about
time.
that for another hour.
And there are questions, so I'm hoping you guys will hang out for just a little bit to get through these.
Sure.
And I want to read them to you, but we can wait till the after party to do that. But yeah, I had to smile at Mooney's because he's just got this sense of humor. It just makes me laugh. But can you tell our listeners how and where to find you guys and how to contact you if they would like?
You bet. Definitely. If you want to follow me, I always encourage people to look up Ross Allison Ghost Hunter on Facebook. Follow me because we do a lot of live feeds too from our locations that we're investigating. So they'll give you an opportunity to see some of the places we're investigating. Also, Ross Allison on Amazon Prime. You can look up all my books. I have 7 books out right now. Number 8 is coming out very soon. Haunted Churches. So check that out. I also have, Spooked in Seattle. So if you're ever in the Seattle area, look us up if you want to get a tour and check out some of the places.
Seattle.com. Yep.
spookedinseattle.com, or even join us on one of our public ghost hunts. You can check that out as well. What about you, June?
And find us on aghost.org, aghost.org, and you can kind of find out some of the places we've been and read some of the blogs, and it's really fun.
Yeah, and see some of our evidence that we collected. We got a lot of great stuff up there.
Or find us through Ghost, AGHOST on Facebook, too. We're Ghost Investigations on Facebook. So follow us on there. We usually post a lot of things on our Facebook page.
Yeah, and as far as Mr. Creepy goes, you did say that you had set up a camera on him in the past to record him like while you're away, or no?
We have done that in the past. Yeah, I think I want to do it again, though, while he's here.
Yeah,
staying with me, just in case.
Yeah, especially with you being
Maybe
home a
some
lot, like your
live
energy
cam
could be
stuff.
feeding him. What'd you say, Ross?
You never know. What'd you say, Ross? I didn't hear you.
I said you should make it a live cam tonight.
Yeah.
So people can watch you sleep and watch.
Yeah, and hear me snore. I don't think so.
And talk in your sleep. She talks in her sleep.
I
just
do
as
talk
well.
in my sleep. Yeah. Oh, well.
Can't help it.
But, I definitely am very grateful to have June in my life. We've had some amazing adventures.
Yes, we have. And we have many more to come. Many more. As soon as this thing gets over and we can see each other again.
Right? It's like I saw my best friend in the grocery store the other day, and we hugged each other from like 6 feet away. We both did it at the same time. But you guys do make a really good
Virtual
team.
hug.
And I'm so glad you guys did find each other. And I just love your energy together. I think you guys really collaborate really well. And you both need each other. And that's really awesome.
Yes, we do.
Oh, she needs me. That's all right.
Yeah, right. I think it's mutual.
Right? Well, thank you guys so much again for being on with us tonight. And if you'd like to come to the after party and answer a couple questions that I wasn't able to get to,
Sure.
that'd be awesome.
No, I definitely would love to answer anybody's questions. So we'll hang out for a little bit. Yeah.
Sweet. And thank you to all of our friends on We Are Paradox Media's Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, Periscope, iHeartRadio, and wherever else you may be listening beyond the Omniverse tonight. I had a wonderful time this evening, and I can't wait to do it again tomorrow night when we have the Ghost Finders on with Daniel Clace, Rob Thompson, and Megan Deputy. You guys don't forget, even though we're feeling somewhat alone, we're all in this together, and together we can make the world a little better. And together, my friends, we are Paradox Media, because without you, there is no us. And if you would like to join us on the Skype after party, just look us up on live, tessa.n.thomas30, or give us a jingle at 1-970-335-9596. Until next time, you guys, nighty night, love and light. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your weekend, and I hope to see you back here tomorrow night. You guys take care of my news. I'll see you back here, same time, same place.